Welcome to Aurora Connects. This is episode 8 for May 15th, 2020, where we will talk about Laveau. I am Dawn Monique Williams, Aurora Theater Associate Artistic Director, and as always, I am joined by Artistic Director Josh Costello. Hey, Josh. Josh.
Sorry, hi, my sound has been going out, so I'm here.
Great. I'm going to jump right into our quote of the week. This week it is from Gem of the Ocean, another play by August Wilson. Character is Aunt Esther. You think you're supposed to know everything. Life is a mystery. Don't you know life is a mystery? I see you still trying to figure it out. It ain't all for you to know. It's all an adventure. That's all life is. But you got to trust that adventure.
Got to trust that adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling that right now for sure.
So Margo, one of our beloved guests today, played Aunt Esther in 2016 in Marin Theater Company's production of Gem of the Ocean. And I have a sneaky suspicion that when August was writing this play, he was a little bit inspired by Marie Laveau himself, as the character of Aunt Esther has much in common with Laveau. So that's the tie-in for the quote this week.
I love it.
And I want to remind our friends that as they watch, feel free to comment on Facebook or in the YouTube chat box with questions for today or suggestions for future episodes. If there's a quote they'd love to hear read on the show, we're welcome to that. And always remember to hit the thumbs up, like button, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done that.
And if you are interested in helping Aurora Theater weather this storm, you can go to our website at auroratheater.org and click on the donate button at the top right. That is what it's going to take for us to get through and be able to produce theater in our space once again. So thank you so much to all of the people who have been supporting us and to the people who are thinking about supporting us in the future and are going to go click that button. Thank you all so much.
As I stated, today we're joined by Margo Hall as one of our illustrious guests. We're also joined today by Britt Frazier, who many may know as an actor in our Bay Area theater community. But we're here hosting Britt today as a playwright, which is such a gift for us. For folks that don't know, at Aurora, we have our own playwriting commissioning program. It's called Originate and Generate. And Britt and Margo are our current commission in the pipeline. And so we wanted to have them on and talk about their process of crafting this piece called Laveau. Would love to start with you, Margo, just to have you tell us a little bit about who you are as an artist before we take a deeper dive.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Margo.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for having me, Josh.
I'm so pleased you're here.
And Dawn. Sorry.
Margo, do you want to remind?
I'm a local artist.
Please, go ahead.
I am a local artist in the Bay Area. I've been acting in the Bay Area for over 20 years, and I'm also a director and a large collaborator.
Margo, do you want to remind our audiences what shows they've seen you in at Aurora?
Sure. At the Aurora Theater, I've had the pleasure of being in a couple shows. I did Trouble in Mind, which was an amazing experience for me, actually, to play Willetta Mayer. It was directed by Robin Stanton, and it was kind of a pivotal point in my career to play such an intense, written by Alice Childress. I felt like a lot of my career kind of took off from that point. And it also really deepened my acting ability working on that role. My last production with Aurora was Exit Strategy, which was directed by Josh. And that was another wonderful experience, a fun role. I had a great role. I was on for like 10 minutes and then I shot myself in the head, off stage, of course. But it was a very powerful scene that I just loved doing every night. I got to show my sense of humor and my comedic skills, as well as my dramatic skills. People always think that I'm such an intense dramatic actor, but I am actually a really silly person. So
and then you got to come back, and then you got to come back to the boat.
So got to work with some great, and I was also a part of the GAP program. That was also a part of my Aurora Theater experience, and working on new plays and directing. As part of that, I worked with Jared Roenberg, so that was a lot of fun as well.
Great. Hi, Britt. Welcome.
Hi, Ton. Hi, Josh. Hi, Margo.
Hello.
We'd love for you to just take a couple minutes and introduce yourself to our audience and let them know what you do and what they may have seen you in and around the Bay Area.
Okay, cool. My name is Britt Frazier, and I've been acting a little bit around the Bay. Most of my work is with Campo Santo. The last thing I was in was Candlestick by Ben Fisher. And I've also worked with ACT and Cutting Ball and a few others. My first playwriting experience came through Theater First, which was the first iteration of Laveau, which was a solo show maybe a year and a half ago. And then recently after that, I participated in From the Ground Up at Theater First, which was the collection of horror stories, and I wrote Boo Hag for that. So I've just been kind of dabbling.
That's wonderful. Josh, before you became Fancy Pants artistic director, you were the literary manager at Aurora, and you had a very heavy involvement in the O&G program. Do you want to explain that a little bit more? What O&G is?
Sure. Yeah. O&G stands for Originate and Generate. And Tom Ross, who was the artistic director for many years before me, and who I worked for, was we were wrapping up the Global Age Project, which was our previous new play discovery program, and that sort of had a 10-year run and sort of reached the end of its cycle. And we wanted to do something new. And Tom's idea was to really put our resources, our new play development resources, into plays that would become full productions at Aurora in a way that the new play discovery program wasn't quite happening as much as we would have liked. And so we've been commissioning, Tom started commissioning one artist every season and then taking them through a full development process with the play that was, the idea is that each process is unique to the particular artist and the particular project. And so sometimes it looks very different. Beth Wilmert, for her commission, used the funding to buy a new ukulele because she was doing a musical presentation. And Jonathan Spector for Eureka Day used it in a more traditional, play workshopping sense. And Tom approached Margo about a possible commission, and Margo came in and talked with us about several possible projects. And one of the projects she mentioned was this project that she and Britt had been working on with Theater First called Laveau. And Tom and I were both very excited about that idea, and we brought Britt in, and we ended up making it a co-commission of the two of them, with Britt as playwright and Margo as director, to take this project that started out at a smaller theater at Theater First and expand it and grow it into a full presentation. And so that's been in the works for a while, and we're still moving forward. We've got some wonderful grant funding from the Gerbode Foundation and the Rainin Foundation and Fleischacker, and Hillary and Johnny Reines are supporters of the Originate and Generate program. And we're able to keep, even during this time when our doors are closed, we're able to keep continuing to develop this piece.
That's wonderful. Britt, why Laveau?
Oh, I feel like, honestly, and it may sound weird to some people, I feel like her story chose me. The first time I read about Laveau, I was in middle school, and somebody had forced me to read a book over the summer And somebody just handed me the book and was like, go read. And it happened to be Voodoo Dreams by Jewel Parker Rhodes. And it's the story of Marie Laveau, but it's like woven with a fiction sort of love story in New Orleans. And it was written so beautifully that I was just captivated. And then after that, throughout the years, I did more and more research, and I realized how amazing her story was, and wanted to create something for her.
That's awesome. Margo, what's the appeal of telling this story for you?
Well, first of all, I have had a long-term collaboration relationship with Brittany through Campo Santo, and I was so excited when I had the opportunity to direct Laveau. And I just loved the piece. I loved what the audience felt when they watched the piece. It was originally and the power that she brought to the piece, along with Brittany's writing, and the concept of ritual theater, and bringing in these bringing these traditions of ritual theater into the forefront of the play. It was just a very powerful experience, and I kept thinking, how are we going to expand on this? Brittany and I talked about what is the longer version of this one person play. And so the idea of continuing this journey with Brittany was one of the main reasons why I wanted her to be a part of the Originate and Generate. I think that Brittany has an amazing voice in her playwriting, and she tells stories that aren't often told. And she has such a strong spiritual foundation, and it comes through in her work. And I just couldn't wait to collaborate with her and continue her journey as a young playwright and expand this piece to its full fulfillment, whatever that may be, exploring that. But the idea of that is just incredible. And so excited that I can be a part of it with Brittany.
Yeah, everything you're saying is so evident in the drafts that Josh and I have received. And there was a first read that we had back in December. And even from that draft to the draft that we will read on Monday, there's been so many changes. And I would love for us to explore that. But before we do, I wonder, Britt, if you could just back up for us just a little bit for anybody who may not be familiar with Marie Laveau at all. This might be a new name for them. If you could tell us even just a little bit more about the historical figure of Marie Laveau.
Yeah, so Marie Laveau was a woman of color in the 1890s in New Orleans. She was part Haitian and part white. And she grew up mostly in the French Quarter, and she was a healer. Healer in the sense that she was an herbalist. She was also an activist for people of color during that time, an abolitionist. She bought slaves. And she was also an advocate for women's rights during that time, women of color's rights. And all those things were really special to me because she was a woman of color in the 1890s during that time. And she used her power in order to free people and heal people, which was really, really interesting to me. So yeah, she was also a voodoo queen, born into the religion. And she had, I think, 4 daughters. And one of them looked so much like her that after Marie Laveau the first died, nobody believed it because her daughter looked exactly like her. So there's a legend in New Orleans that she is immortal because her daughters look so much like her. And now she is the patron saint, I learned, of beauty and healing. So she is made saint officially in New Orleans.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Can you tell us more about, you mentioned she was an abolitionist and she freed slaves. Can you tell us how she did that? Like, what was that about?
So she would buy slaves from the auction blocks legally, and then get a friend of hers to sign the paperwork over and free the slave. So she'd buy them free, and then through manumission would then, I guess, sell them back their freedom for nothing, for free.
Mm-hmm. 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 Amazing.
Now, the draft that I saw in December, that reading, was wildly different from the one-woman show that you crafted for Theater First. So I wonder, when you first went from that one-woman show to that larger show that we read in December, what your initial impulse was in terms of what's the core of the story you were hoping to tell.
I think the core of the story I was hoping to tell in the first draft, and hopefully in the second draft, is one of women of color healing themselves through traditional means. Right now, there's a surge in practitioners of Voodoo and Santeria and Candomblé because of everything that's going on in the world, and that's traditional. There was a surge in Voodoo and Hoodoo in New Orleans when the yellow fever scourge happened, and when slavery was running rampant, and when there was Black people, wherever there was Black people oppressed or ill, there's voodoo. I think I answered your question.
Yes. Margo, I want to turn to you again. As the director of this piece, you use the term ritual theater, and Brittany talks about the play being a site for healing for Black women. And I just wonder how, as a director, you approach that, how you craft that sort of experience for an audience.
Well, when I think of ritual theater, I think of an opportunity that is experience. And that is what happened for me when I watched Laveau. So one of the ways of incorporating ritual is starting the entire process with the washing of hands, starting the entire process by blessing the space, and also allowing a direct audience. They're going to have a real relationship, like the audience, to literally lay hands on all of Black bodies, female bodies that are in the audience, and bless them in that very moment. A way of taking the art of storytelling and creating the art of a ritual and putting them together, and that I'm hoping is a genuine experience to this particular process. This is something I'm still learning. It's something I'm still working on. But the more Brittany and I collaborate, the more we find what we thought, so we said we're going to bring in drummers, that live element of creating spirit in the right there is incorporating ritual theater, where those drums could be anything on any given night. The idea of incorporating dancers, who knows when the spirit will come into the space. So we prepare the audience for that by letting them know this is an actual experience. And we hope that there is a spiritual element that's present through all of the commitment we are bringing to healing these Black female bodies, that will create this ritual that we are trying and will continue to try to bring into theater.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. That's one of the things that I love so much about the uniqueness of this piece, that spirit of ritual of contact, which of course we'll have to navigate in this new world of producing theater during the time of COVID-19.
Right.
Josh, you mentioned that one of the sort of special features of ONG is providing the generators with funds to support their process. You mentioned Beth wanting a ukulele. Well, one of the things that Brittany was interested in was a trip to New Orleans. And I just wonder, Josh, if you wanted to say more about how key it is to give the generators, writers, what they need to nourish their projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole idea with Originate and Generate is that so many play development programs use this sort of cookie cutter approach where it's like you get this many hours of rehearsal with your actors and then you do a reading and then, we decide whether we're going to produce it. And we wanted to really allow the playwrights to take a leading role in telling us what it was that they need, so that it's really an artist-centered process all the way through. So, for example, with Eureka Day, Jonathan Spector, I said he did do a traditional thing, but he also had that scene in Eureka Day that was all about the video and a Facebook Live conference. And so we used the ONG funding to do a workshop where we brought in Teddy Hulsker, our video designer. And before rehearsals even began, we had worked out how that video sequence was going to actually work. And we tried it a few different ways. And then Jonathan was able to rewrite the scene for the best way to do it. And it saved us a tremendous amount of time in the technical process of rehearsing the show. And so, and I love that. I love that this is an artist-driven program. And yeah, so Britt, you were really interested in doing a research trip to New Orleans to make this as authentic a story as possible. And you actually got to go to New Orleans before the shelter in place began. Will you tell us about your trip and what happened there?
Yeah, I feel really, really blessed and honored to have been able to travel and to do research while I was there before everything happened. So yeah, I spent a week in New Orleans over the week of Mardi Gras, which was very interesting. It was my first time being there for Mardi Gras as well. Preparing for the trip, everybody was like, you need to have a costume. You're going to feel really left out if you don't have a costume. So I made this really elaborate mask from seashells for the Orisha Oshun to wear. But I guess I should backtrack. So the first night I got there, I was really nervous about being there by myself. And I was hungry. I decided I wasn't going to eat all day. The first meal I was going to have was in New Orleans. And so I got there and it was dark and I had a po' boy and a hurricane. And after that, the nerves were gone. And I just started walking around the French Quarter at night. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I want to go to Marie Laveau's house. So I just start walking and walking. I recognize streets and all of a sudden I'm in front of her house at night. And then the next thing I did was like, I want to go see the cathedral. I wonder if I can find, St. Louis Cathedral. It's huge, but I didn't know where I was. So I kept walking and I see the Touchdown Jesus statue shadow. And I didn't know what it was at first. I was like, that's really cool. It's very ethereal. And I walked to the front of it and that's St. Louis Cathedral. So from the moment I got there, things just kind of fell into my path as I asked for them. While I was there, I visited 2 plantations in one day, which I'm not sure if anybody should do 2 in one day, but it was very enlightening because I felt like I was not only tracing the footsteps of Marie Laveau in the French Quarter while I was there, but I was tracing the footsteps of my ancestors unbeknownst to me. Coming in from the air and seeing the river that looks like a snake, which was really awesome. It's a really gorgeous river. And then traveling over the river to go to Algiers and making sure I spent time there, which is a city that was thriving with African-American elite, basically. There were doctors and lawyers and big groups of families that lived in Algiers at one point. And when the hurricane hit, Algiers was safe. They were on the safer side of the river for whatever reason because of the levees. What else did I do? I went to 1,003 museums, which were awesome. I went to one that had nothing to do with anything. I was just interested. The Death Museum, which is really something. It's awesome. I also went to the Voodoo Museum, which was amazing. Lots of artifacts there. There are altars there for her. I visited the 2 Black-owned voodoo shops in the French Quarter and actually got a tour from a mambo there at night, which was really awesome. I went to St. Louis Cathedral for Mass twice, just because that was a place that she frequented a lot, and it's one of the oldest cathedrals, I think, in the world, and found out some really interesting history about that. I went to visit her grave, which was very interesting also because there was a lot of people there and there were a lot of tours happening. And I had imagined spending more time there. and I had like literally maybe seconds. What else did I do? I experienced Mardi Gras in my mask, but I decided that I wanted to experience Mardi Gras in a more traditional way. And if I was going to do masking, so what I decided to do was wear my mask all day, except for when I was eating, and not speak.
Oh.
And experience Mardi Gras by observing. So I didn't drink too much. I wasn't partying a lot, but I was watching people and things and taking in energy and just trying to feel what I can feel from the place. And it's interesting to me as a playwright, when I'm able to travel to the place that I'm writing about, I get a lot of information when I'm there. And so I hope it's reflected in this new draft.
Yeah, that's the question I want to ask. I also was in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and I was there for an extended period. And I also went to a plantation. I went to the Whitney plantation. So I understand you completely when you talk about the ancestors and feeling that connection. So I am really interested in how that trip has informed this new draft. You've made some sort of radical changes from the last draft. I don't think it's a spoiler to say, but there used to be some male characters in the play, and those male characters are gone. So now the play completely focuses on the lives of these Black women that you've divined from some spiritual practices. So I wonder if you could speak more to the connection of that trip or your own sort of spiritual development and how that's reflected in this draft that we'll hear on Monday.
Well, I think the thing that I kept getting, especially after that first hurricane, was I don't have to fear anything. I don't know why it was so terrifying to me to travel to New Orleans during Mardi Gras by myself. And everybody, when I got there, kept telling me how brave I was. Oh, you're by yourself? You're so brave. You're by yourself? You're so brave. And so that's one message I definitely got. The other one was, I know what I know. I've been stressing over, as a playwright, not feeling like I know enough about voodoo or hoodoo or playwriting in general in order to be able to finish this. And then on top of that, it's not in a regular structure. It's not in a regular play form structure. It's in a ritual form. And what does that mean? I don't know. So the message I got was, you know what you know. And I don't know, that the work that I was doing was appreciated, I guess. The fact that I took the time to do certain things and spend time in certain places was appreciated.
Mm.
You mentioned when you were first talking about the mask, something about the orishas. Can you tell us a little bit more, for those of us who don't know or might not know about the orishas and some of the background of their stories and their that whole system of belief? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So orishas are not traditionally from the Voodoo culture. Those are mainly Santeria. Mm-hmm. In Voodoo, we would call the orishas, or the what do we call that? I would call the headpieces of God, the different aspects of God. We call those loas in Voodoo. And those loas represent different natural elements and aspects of the Most High Spirit. They also are very human-like, too, in some ways. They have their own stories and interactions with one another. There's creation stories about them. And because of slavery, they were made parallel to Catholic saints to keep the religion safe. So slave owners thought that their slaves were practicing Roman Catholicism when really they were observing their religious culture of Voodoo.
Great, thank you.
Margo, I wonder if you have any reflections on the journey that the drafts have taken, certainly from our December reading to what we'll hear on Monday.
Yeah, I just want to applaud Brittany again for her bravery, and I just once again say thank you for your spirit and your work. So when we started the process with the one-person show, we had Desi Soleil, powerful, it's the three of us coming together and making this play happen. I think we had 3 rehearsals. We had this great set that was done by Randy Westbrook, and we put all these cues together. And at that time, Brittany had voiceovers, and we just had a collage of all of this great stuff and did the play. And it was like, wow, that was amazing. And we kept saying, we have to continue this. What do we do? So after that, we did a few short iterations of that play for like Life is Living Festival, which is held at the DeFermo Park every summer, celebrating Black bodies, and also a little bit at ACT. And then when we came to this opportunity with Originate and Generate, we were like, wow, how can we expand this? So Brittany said, I've always heard drummers. I've always heard dancers. And we started thinking about what is the story. So Brittany came in with a draft with, I don't know, Brittany, 10, 12, and we played around with that. Like we said, originally we had 2 male characters. We brought in all of these like friends of Marie Laveau, and we still haven't heard the drummers yet and got the dancers in there, but that's like our next. Then we had the reading, and we were like, what is the central story? So we started going through and saying, we have this great pot with all of this juicy stuff. How do we pare it down and get to the nitty gritty? And never losing sight that the play, with Brittany's original intention, was the idea of blessing Black female bodies in the space. And so we pared down a little, and we also talked about the beginning of the play, end of the play, and the idea of how we are going to and still tell a story that may be from the past, but we're in the present. So we're playing now with past and present, how we present that ritualistic space. So that's where we are, right? And I'm hoping that the next reiteration is hearing some of these drums. May even play some of the music that Brittany has already written into the piece, which is, from YouTube and things like that. So we can start to hear that's where we are. What a journey.
So great. So great. Josh, did you have any follow-ups questions in there?
I just wanted to point out, we've been talking about Monday, and we are doing a reading with a group of actors over Zoom on Monday, but it is not going to be open to the public, unfortunately. I'm sorry to say. I wish we could, but we are, we had been planning on doing a presentation of Laveau sometime during next season. It's a little bit up in the air right now, of course, but we are continuing to talk with Britt and Margo about what the next steps might be and how we can get to a point where we can share this with our audience and with a broader audience and put it up on its feet. I'm really excited to continue talking with you both about making that happen as soon as we can.
And it's especially thrilling at a time when so many theaters are struggling financially and looking for outlets and how to keep supporting artists, that we have generous funders for this project that are allowing us to continue with the development of this project. So at least while Aurora is dark, we still have resources to invest in Laveau and in some of our other ONG projects that are in the pipeline. I want to be mindful of the time, and I want to make sure that we get to hear from each of you about other projects that you might be up to, other things that you might have in the works, how your life is radically shifting in the age of COVID. And I'll just start by saying that Margo is in a movie that was just released on Netflix not too long ago. Margo, do you want to say a little bit about your film on Netflix?
My film. Okay. Well, it's called In the Night. It's and directed by Joe Robert Cole, who was also one of the writers on Black Panther. And it's a very powerful story set in Oakland. All of it was filmed in Oakland. And I play a grieving mother who has lost a child, and I am confronting her killer in the courtroom. And it's a short snippet towards the beginning of the scene. And it's just really, really a powerful little snippet. And it was a pleasure. It was a joy. It was some great people who were working on this, who you know is a very accomplished actor, is one of the main characters, and he's phenomenal. And it's funny because I actually worked with Jeffrey when we were at Arena Stage. So it was really fun to kind of reunite with him and say, hey, we're in a movie together. So yeah, check it out. It's on Netflix. It's a very powerful film.
And what else are you up to these days, Britt?
This is it. I'm trying to get this play together. I'm doing a little bit of teaching with the Rise Youth Center in Richmond. They are adapting The Wiz, so I'm helping them adapt The Wiz. And just trying to stay sane.
Well, you're being a little bit modest because I definitely saw you in a 10-minute play reading on Monday as part of the
Yes.
Playground Zoom Fest. So you have some little projects that you're doing. Yeah.
Here and there, yeah. Mainly just trying to figure out this play though.
Well, we'll welcome that, of course. And again, Margo's movie is called All Day and a Night and is available on Netflix. I wonder what is bringing you joy right now?
What's bringing? Well, I'm learning a lot right now. I've taken this opportunity to engage as much as I can with any type of educational things that are happening on Zoom, on YouTube. I finally have a moment to sit and read a lot of plays that people send me and say, would you please read my play and give me some feedback? So I've had an opportunity to do that. And I'm still staying busy working on, I have a Zoom play coming up. I've also, been spending time that, this time will allow Brittany and I to dig deeper into the play. I mean, one of the visions that we have for this play at some point is that it's like outside and it's full and it's almost like a pilgrimage and it's tons of people participating in this ritual. So I'm kind of sitting in that and visualizing that at this time.
I think for me, what's been bringing me joy is I've been like immersing myself in learning about, I'm taking an herbal remedies course online also, which kind of feeds into the playwriting. I've also been reading a lot. So a lot of Ntozake Shange. I'm reading Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo right now. And then I was reading Bell Hook's Sisters of the Yam and a few other books about Voodoo and Marie Laveau and just kind of immersing myself in information right now to see what feeds what. I also watched, there's a Maya Deren documentary about Voodoo called, I think it's The Dark Horseman that I've been watching. It's a black and white film that she was a part of in Haiti. That is a filmed ritual in Haiti or different rituals in Haiti for different loas. So just trying to keep my mind on the magic and keep remembering New Orleans. That's just such a beautiful time for me. And spiritually, when I came back, I was so energized and lifted. And it's just weird that when I came back, all of this happened. But I was so fed beforehand that I think the impact of it was
hear you. I can't see anybody right there for me. But I don't know if you can hear me or if I'm talking over anybody, because all I see on my screen is myself. So I'll just say thank you so much to Britt and Margo for all of your wonderful work and for coming on the show today. Dawn, are you there?
I am here,
Great.
yes. And I just want to apologize to viewers. We just dropped signal for a little bit, but we're all here and we're back. And Josh is offering a thank you to our guests, Margo and Britt.
Thank you.
Thank
am
you.
I here?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you all so much for having us. It's good to see everybody's face and continue to connect best ways we can.
Yes. So we hope we've whet all of our viewers' appetite to stay with us for Laveau as it continues to develop. Because at some point there will be a live component of the
It's gonna happen.
show, and it's in its ritual intent. So we're very excited about that. Josh, as always, we have a few housekeeping things we want to share.
We do. I want to especially thank, again, the Gerbode Foundation, the Rainin Foundation, the Fleischacker Foundation, and Hillary and Johnny Reines for their support of this project and of the Originate and Generate program at Aurora. We could not do it without their support, and they've been very generous with us, especially in this time of increased need. And we do have increased need. If you would like to help Aurora weather this storm and continue to bring you this kind of programming and get back to doing programming in our theater and come up with all sorts of interesting things that we can do while we are dark, please go to our website, auroratheater.org, and click on the donate button at the top right. Thank you so much for that.
Great. And again, we are doing this for you viewers at home to stay connected with you. So if there are topics, guests, quotes, anything you want to talk about, anybody you want us to have on, please do send us an email at connects@auroratheater.com, org@auroratheater.org, or certainly comment in our Facebook chat, on the YouTube chat, hit like and subscribe. Now, next week, we have a very special guest. Josh, who's joining us next week?
Lily Janik, the reviewer for the San Francisco Chronicle, is our guest next week. So please send me questions that you would like us to ask Lily.
Great. Friends, thank you for staying connected.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.